Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gopremananda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So is that on? That thing?
Yes, it is.
Huh?
Yes, it is.
I thought you were taught how to do it. Oh. Anyway, whatever. Narayanam namaskritya Nanam chaiva naruttamam Deving saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamagiriye. Look into the camera and see if it looks like you can see me.
The green light on, I think it's on.
Alright.
It is on, so the red light is, the recording light is on.
Alright.
There you are.
So, before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Devi. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pichanane, Nivisesha, Sumnyavadi Paskita Esatar. So we're starting a new chapter in the second canto. It's chapter 7, the scheduled incarnations with specific functions. So it's like, this is actually the very title of the chapter is very significant. Prabhupada always said that the incarnations are listed and they're scheduled to come at a certain time. And in the scripture, the name of the father of the incarnation and the name of the village is always listed. Like Kalki Devi's, the next incarnation in approximately 400,000 years is the town and the name of the father is listed. Also, actually somewhere in I think someplace we just read or it's coming up, the name, there's two kings for such a yuga, one from the Moon Dynasty and one from the Sun Dynasty, and they are actually born, they actually live now in villages in the Himalayas, and that village is named in the scripture, and so is their names given. And they're just waiting for the next age to arrive. So everything is, there's no like guessing, like, you know, I don't know so much now if there's so many incarnations of God like there was in the 70s and the 80s, 60s. Are there a lot of people coming around saying that they're an incarnation? I mean, I bet in India they're still like that. But in America, we had all kinds of Babas and Maharajas that were claiming to be God. And Prabhupada would always say that, you know, it's there in the scripture, and besides that, there's other ways to know whether or not you're an actual incarnation of God. So now we're going to talk, Lord Brahma is going to tell us about the scheduled incarnations and their specific functions. And this first one is the actual first incarnation of the Lord. And Lord Brahma is the first living entity in the universe. So, Brahma Uvacha Yatro Yata Shiti Talodarannaya Bibrat Yatro Yatashiti Talodarannaya Bibrat Kraudim Tanum Sakala Yagna Mayim Ananta Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagna Mayim Anta Antar Maharnava Upagatam Adi Daicham Antar Maharnava Upagatam Adi Daicham Tam Damsrayagrim Eva Vraja Doro Tadara Tam Damsrayagrim Eva Vrajam Doro Dadara Brahma Uvacha Yatro Ratyo Yata Siddhi Talodarannaya Vibrat Tatto Dato Siddhi Talodarannaya Vibrat Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagnamayim Ananta Is Lakshmi Singh's wife here?
No.
Oh. Padma, you're good at this, right? You can get the melody, right? For the mantra?
Yeah, I can try.
Okay, go ahead. Do it, please. Yatro Dayanta Shiti Talo Daranna Vibrat
Kraudim Tanum Shakala Yagya Mahim Anantaha
Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagyamayim Anantaha Anta Mahanava Upagatam Adidaicham Tam Damsrayadrim Diva Vrajadharodhara Brahmo Uvacha Yatro Yata Siddhi Talodarannaya Vibrat Tarodaya Siddhi Talodarannaya Vibrat Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagnamayim Ananta Anta Mahar Nava Upagatam Adidaicham Dam Damstray Yadrim Iva Vraja Daro Dadara Well, yeah, this I can do anyway. Anyone else? Ramuvacha Yatro Dayata Siddhi Tarodaranaya Vibrat Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagnamayim Antaha Anta Mahanava Upagatam Adidaicham Tam Damsrayadrim Eva Vrajadharodhara Anyone else?
Hello, Maharnaya Vibhat
Yatro Dayata Ichiti Thalo Daranaya Vibrat
Raudim Tanum Sakala Yagna Mayam Anata
Raudim Tanu Sakala Yagnamayim Ananta
Antar Mahar Nava Upagatam Adi Tatyam
Antar Maharnava Upakatam Adidajam
Bandam Stradhyam Iva Rajadaro Darara
Tam Damsra Yadrina Eva Vrajadorodara
Brahmo Vacha
Brahmo Vacha
Yatro Dayakshititalo Dharanaya Vibrat
Yatro Dayata Shittitalo Ranaya Vibrat
Kraudim Tanum Sakala Yajnamai Manantaha
Kraudim Tanu Sakala Yagnamayim Ananta
Antar Maharnava Upagatamadi Daityam
Antar Maharnava Upakatam Adidaityam
Tam Damstrayademiva Vrajadaro Datara
Tam Dasrayadrim Eva Vrajadorodara. So, the word for word is Brahmavacha. Lord Brahma said, Yatra, at that time, when? Udayata, attempted. Shitti Tala, the planet Earth. Udaranaya, for the matter of lifting. Vibrat, assumed. Kraudim, pastimes. Tanum, form. Sakala, total. Yagnamayim, all-inclusive sacrifices. Anantaha, the unlimited. Antar, within the universe. Maha-arnava, the great Garbha ocean. Ubhakatam, having arrived at. Adi, did you find one? Yeah, oh good, because I just put that there for temporarily. That's mine, so I was just going to lend it. Thanks. Adi, the first. Daicham, the demon. Tam, him. Damstraya, by the tusk. Adrim, the flying mountains. Eva, like. Vrajadara, the controller of the thunderbolts. Sandara, tears. Thank you very much. Can you turn the page on that now? I did. Oh, good, thanks. Translation. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Garbhodaka, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. So please repeat. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Garbhodaka. The first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared. And the Lord pierced him with his tusk. So now this is the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planets of the universes. Lord Brahma is the first demigod, Hiranyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air, and as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down in the Govardhana ocean, which covers half the universe. I guess that settles whether or not man can influence by not properly caring as good stewards. We can influence, the environment, even to the point where the planet will fall out of orbit, as the Ranjana did. The other half is the spherical dome within which the innumerable planetary systems exist. The floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes, and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons, and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Hiranyaksha, and in parentheses it says, the great exploiter of the gold rush. And that's the end of the verse. And the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into the Govardhana ocean. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from within the water of Govardhana. Srila Jayadeva Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, sang as follows. I'm going to try to do this. Vasanti Darshana Sikhare Dharani Tavalagna Sasina Kalaka Kalevara Nimagna Kesavadrita Sukara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. O Kesava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusks, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptoms of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of a fanciful man who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above-mentioned occasion. And the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of the many cheap incarnations may take note of the factual imagination of God as a gigantic boar with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical functions of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this version. So the verse again is, Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which is drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Govardhana, the first demon Hiranyaksha appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. So, now we've just gone through Lord Brahma's explanation of he was asked by Narada Muni, are you the original creator? And he explains no. And he explains how this creation has come about. And everything's coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's the secondary creator. And then he also described how we can meditate on the Lord in his creation and meditate on his energies. And how effortlessly it's all being done. This vast creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the demigods are here to assist. And Lord Brahma is the first. He's the and here we're seeing he's now describing the scheduled incarnations of the Lord and what their specific pastimes are, why they appeared. And it's interesting, the very first one happens to be a boar of all things. Because we all know what the backstory is, or most of us should know, but I'll just briefly touch on it. There's four of Brahma's first sons, other than Narada Muni, are the four Kumaras. And they requested that they don't age past the age of 4 or 5, because they could see the nature of sex desire, how it can be an obstacle to the real purpose of life. So a child is innocent, and therefore they decided to stay as children. And don't underestimate their potency or their spiritual powers. And you see in this age how much emphasis is put on sex desire. It's advertised in such it's used to sell other things, but it's also the actual sex itself is being, perpetrated upon us that from a very young age. And if there's something wrong with you, if you can't perform, if you're dysfunctional, that's a serious problem. We have to get you counseling, we have to get you medication. But actually sex desire has one purpose, and that's for procreation under the religious principles. And everything else is illicit. And it's very difficult in this age to maintain those vows of celibacy, as we can, we've just attested to it with Jayapataka Maharaj's accomplishment. 50 years as a sannyasi. That means we're the same age. That means he took his vow, he was the age of 20.
21.
Because I was just going to say, because actually he took it on Radhastami, so he would have been 21. But, he was born in 49. So he went all that, all these years maintaining that. And I can attest from being with him for several years and helping him. His vows were very. One time actually more than once, but one specific time I remember, he was sitting in a room with I think there was maybe 2 older women, and I got up and walked out to go see what was happening somewhere else in the other room. And he stopped the conversation, got up and said, "What are you doing? Get in there." He didn't want to be alone with women. And this was, I go, "Really? Okay, I'm sorry, but there's 2 of them." No, it doesn't matter, I can't be alone with women. Maybe it was only one woman, but that happened more than one. And also the way he dealt with them. I know these were things I would like to have said in Atlanta, but time was constrained. And also the way he dealt with money, it was very, very instructive, because he was using Atlanta as a base, and he would go from Atlanta all over North America and South America. So as he would come through, he would hand us cash or checks, and then we brought out receipts, deposited it, and then at the end of his tour of North and South America, we would then issue him a cashier's check made out to ISKCON Mayapur. Not anything for his own. We paid for his Vikadar, and I would share. When it was twice a year, I pay half, I pay one trip, and he'd pay the other trip. And so his expenses otherwise would be incurred by the other temples. But then he didn't take anything out for some special little fund for his own personal things. Everything went directly. So money, women, so many things like that. So anyway, the Kumaras, they took a vow of celibacy, and not only that, but that they would remain children so that it wouldn't even be possible. So they come to Vaikuntha, and the 2 gates, Jai and Vijay, they're position is that they don't allow anyone into Vaikuntha that's going to disturb the atmosphere. Just like now we're doing background checks on people. So, and I've mentioned this before, but a few years ago, when Colleen and I had a business in St. Augustine, we went to a special gated community, very wealthy place, and it was really quite nice. But I realized within this was at the time of the George Bush, the end of his era, and the economy was, you could see it tanking, and right after that, 2008, the whole thing collapsed. The war was a big question, but if you had said anything at all, about negative about Bush, you would have been gone. So there's these, I could feel that I was in a perverted reflection of what it would be like to be in the spiritual world. If you're in the spiritual world, they say, I've heard devotees say that it's like they can smell the material desire on you. They can sense you still have some envy, or you still have some other material desire. You won't be happy, and that you don't fit in. And it's an offense to you and to them. So the Jai and Vijay, their business was to protect. But they made a mistake with the Kumars, and the Kumars became upset with them and cursed them. And apparently, I heard in a lecture recently by Radhanath Maharaj, where Vishnu himself came and begged them, please, no, they're my servants, therefore I'm responsible for my servants. Please don't curse them. And he said, even you can cut off my arms. Which is, and I don't remember ever reading that anywhere, but Maharaj was saying this in his class. And so they said, no, the curse has already been. So then they got a choice of 6 births, I believe, as devotees, or 3 births as demons. So they decided to take the shortcut as the demons. And so now this is the first one, Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha. So they were twins, and Hiranyaksha was the first one born, first one out. But that means if you're twins, according to the Vedic understanding, the second one out is actually the oldest. That's the first one that was impregnated, and then the second one was impregnated. So the second one impregnated is actually younger than the one that comes out second, but Hiranyaksha still is the first one out. He is the first demon. They stayed in their mother's womb for 100 years. Anyone who's been pregnant, or anyone who's lived with someone pregnant for 9 months, that is very intense experience. And you imagine their mother, 100 years, and because they didn't want to come out until they were ready. They were powerful. They didn't want to be weak at any moment. So they come out, and Hiranyaksha is just running. And Hiranya means gold. And Yaksha means one who covets gold, I believe. So the Yakshas are ones who are very attached to their wealth. So apparently there was a gold rush on Earth, and they overmined the planet. And the planet fell out of its orbit. And, I don't remember ever reading this purport before. I know I haven't. I've been discussing with Colleen for many years that it seems like, the earth is organic, and we know this is Mother Bhumi, but we're taking all this fuel, all this juice, this liquid out of her body. Obviously, it's going to affect
blood.
Yeah, or a type of fluid, just like if you kept draining my body of a certain fluid, it's not very healthy. And it's going to, my bones will... There was one person once, I remember back in the 70s, and he was advocating a mucusless diet. And so he was denying the body a lot of calcium, in a sense. And the irony of the whole thing is that all his bones crumbled. He was advocating this diet for many years, and then finally his bones just started breaking. And there was no way to undo the damage. So, but still, with the planet Earth, what to speak of the fact, I was thinking about how the imperialism of the European countries, and they would go to these different places, like, say the British, they went to Australia. They just put their flag in that continent and said, this is ours. It belongs to us now. I mean, the arrogance of it. And then they started to adjust the natural way of doing things there. The Aborigines had lived there for tens of thousands of years. Now, I don't know exactly what the archaeologists and other scientists would say, but the fact is after a few centuries of the westernized style of living, this place is in flames. And what we know, the Native Americans were living here, when the Europeans arrived here, the waters were clean, the air was clean. Okay, they didn't have superhighways and they didn't have internet, but they had clean water and clean air. And so these different cultures come around the earth, exploit it for their own sense gratification. I'm not saying the Aborigines or the Native Americans are, pure devotees, but they had a different way of living, and they had more respect for their place, and they knew how to live there. Whereas after the Europeans finish using something, they'll move on to another place. I remember very clearly when we were first talking about going to the moon, people would actually openly say, well, we're going to use up this planet, so we've got to find another one to move to. This was actually being discussed by relatively intellectual people, that we'll burn up this planet and go to another one. Let's find some other planet. And to think that there's no life anywhere else in this universe, that there's a void, everywhere on this planet there's life, and life adjusts itself to every part of this planet. To think that there's no life in any other part of the universe is really the height of arrogance. Obviously, if there's life all over this universe. God didn't create a void, and we're the only ones living. So the first incarnation is a boar. Now, God could have appeared in any way He wanted. He's God. He could look very beautiful, although apparently this boar incarnation looks extremely beautiful. It's a very beautiful incarnation. And He decided to appear as a boar to do the needful. The needful was that the planet had fallen into the ocean, and He needed to pick it up and put it back on its orbit, to reestablish. And it shows you the significance and the importance of the planet Earth. The planet Earth, in terms of our understanding as far as God realization goes, an extremely important location strategically. It's in the middle. There's not too much suffering and there's not too much pleasure. The heavenly planets, it's more difficult to be serious about spiritual life because you don't feel the urgency for it. There's so much pleasure, there's so much opulence there. And it's very comfortable. The hellish planets, you're just like, say, if you lived in some parts of the around the world where there's droughts and there's epidemics or there's shortages of food. There's so much suffering. Like Prabhupada once saw some people in Mayapur digging through the trash for food, and he thought, how can they be interested in spiritual life? We can't preach to them if they're hungry. We have to feed them. Therefore, we started the Food for Life program. So, while on Earth, generally speaking, the situation is moderate. It's a moderate atmosphere. There's happiness and there's distress, and it's a good field for developing self-realization. And especially now in this age, since Lord Chaitanya has appeared just 500 years ago, and Srila Prabhupada has begun to fulfill the prediction of every town and village. So it's a very important planet. So the first incarnation of the Lord comes in what would be considered a degraded form, a boar, a hog. But He comes for the purpose of saving the earth, for the purpose of the suffering living entities. A demon has misused God's creation for his own exploitation to the point where that planet Earth and all the living entities living on it are now suffering and drowning. And the Lord comes to save the planet and to save those living entities. The Lord comes repeatedly to establish the religious principles and to destroy the atheistic. And in this case, his very first job, his first mission, or his first Leela, was to come as a boar. He didn't care. He doesn't care that it's not like the body of a beautiful demigod. He came what was necessary to save the earth planet and to save the suffering living entities. Someone has misused. He's created this universe. It is a prison house, but it's created for the living entities who are transmigrating from the different bodies to learn that this place is not their home. We are like diamonds that have been buried in mud. And the mud is so thick and encrusted, it takes a long time to uncover and clean off all the mud. Our hearts are actually diamond-like. We're spirit souls. We're in quality one with the Lord 10,000 times brighter than the sun. That tiny little spark is making everything happen. As soon as that little spark goes, which is invisible to us, nothing functions. Nobody cares about this body. So the Lord cares, and the Lord wants to make sure that we don't miss an opportunity. And the planet Earth is very important in his creation. Now someone has basically gone into the prison house and started a riot. And kicked down, and so bad that the earth planet is now down in the ocean. So he comes, picks up the ocean, picks up the earth out of the ocean, and puts it back on its orbit. So now, at that moment, Hiranyaksha, who had been going around looking for a fight to all the demigods, and they're all hiding from him, he goes to Vibhagri, where his Varuna lives. And he asks Varuna for a fight. And Varuna says, actually, I'm really sort of seasoned. I'm kind of senior now. I'm not, my fighting days are over. But there is someone, I couldn't really give you a good fight. But there is someone who, right now, as a matter of fact, is lifting the planet Earth out of the Garbha ocean. And he would give you a good fight. So much so that he probably, you would be destroyed and your body would be food for the jackals. And Hiranyaksha becomes enlivened by this. Because he doesn't believe it's possible that I'm going to be destroyed. When you're on a roll and you're having success, you don't ever consider that there's a possibility that I'm going to fail. You just keep going. Who could possibly destroy me? The whole universe is shaking in their boots seeing me. Or their sandals, or whatever they were seeking at the time. Nobody wanted to fight with him. All the demigods were hiding from him. So he figured out, who is this Vishnu? I'll take care of him. But I'm going to get a good fight out of this. This is what he lived for. So they meet, and at the time, I think it says here in the purport that Varaha's methodically putting the planet Earth back into orbit, and he's called out by Hiranyaksha, "Oh, you amphibious beast! You creature of the mud and water! How dare you!" And he immediately challenges him to a fight, and they start fighting using clubs at first. And as a matter of fact, at one point in the beginning of the fight, Varaha's club drops, and Hiranyaksha picks it up and hands it back to him, which is in the mood of the Kshatriya. And so they continue fighting, and so then at a certain point, a similar thing happens where, I don't remember all the backs and forths exactly, but his Hiranyaksha's club drops, and Krishna tries to hand it back to him, and he becomes insulted. At this point, he vanishes, he disappears for a while, and then he creates a darkness, and all of a sudden clouds, and like huge boulders falling from the sky, and armies of Rakshasas and Rakshasis coming towards the Lord. and there's all sorts of ill substances falling from the sky coming towards the Lord. And the Lord then calls for a Sudarshan chakra, and by that Sudarshan chakra, it illuminates. Wherever there's the Lord, all darkness vanishes. And all the demons, all the illusory tricks of Hiranyaksha vanish. And the club fighting ends, and then they begin to more fist fighting. But actually, what happens is Hiranyaksha tries to grab hold of the Lord. He tries to hold and squeeze him to death. But as he's going like this, he realizes the Lord is outside of his arms. He can't do anything. Like, when Mother Jasoda is trying to tie the Lord, not exactly in the same mood, but to try to chastise him in a way. She can't tie every time she tries to tie the rope, she adds more rope. It's not enough. You can't tie up the Lord. So Hiranyaksha keeps grabbing, and there's no Lord. There's no God. He can't hold on to it. So he becomes very frustrated. He comes running towards him, and then at a certain point, what he said here, it says his fist, but I believe that you could say the hoof of the Lord is a fist, because I believe that he kicked him in the back of his ear, and blood came forth. He fell down dead. And actually, there's a point when before this, I forgot, all the demigods are watching this, and they're all very fearful of this person, this Hiranyaksha, because all the demigods have been hiding from him. He's the first real powerful demon. They've yet to have to deal with his brother, Hiranyakasipu. So there's a point when they don't really know what's going to happen here. And here's the other thing. I forgot to mention this really quickly. Where did Varaha come from?
From the nostril.
Nostril. From the nostril. I mean, the first incarnation of the Lord comes out of the nose of Lord Brahma. A tiny little creature pops out, and then gradually just grows and grows into this beautiful, glowing creature, the Varaha incarnation of the Lord. And he was flying through the sky. It was absolutely magnificent. So he appears out of the nose. And now, but they still, maybe he's Vishnu what? He's a boar. And so the battle is going on pretty strong, and they got worried. So Brahma says, look, it's getting close to the more inauspicious time of the day. Between 12 and dusk is auspicious for battle. As soon as it starts to get dusk, then things turn for the worst, and the evil influences are stronger. So please take him out now. Finish it now. So that's when he does the kick to the ear, and as he's lying there dead, he then puts his tusk into the body to make sure that everyone realizes he's dead. Haribol. So, but I think it's really an interesting, when you think that, Krishna's willing to do anything. He's willing to come in any form and do any service to protect his devotees, to protect the souls who have fallen into this world and who are striving for re-entry into the spiritual world. And even in this sense, Hiranyaksha is his devotee, acting as a demon. I'm not sure if he's conscious of that or remembers the past, but he's acting as a demon. He's doing a very good job in his role as a demon, and he's also protecting him. He's saving him. So, and he did, and he even said when the Kumaras cursed him, he said, "Please, no. They're my responsibility. Don't do this." So what does he do? He follows them down and comes as a boar to save one of them. Most people, I got to take birth as a hog. Krishna appears as a boar to save part of the creation, so that an important part of his creation, the earth planet, is the most important place for self-realization, and to save Hiranyaksha. And have these glorious pastimes. And by hearing these pastimes, these are not allegories. They're not, just some fictitious, wild story. These are actual pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, they are non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by hearing these pastimes, you actually associate with the Supreme Lord, and you become purified within your heart. It destroys all the mud that's surrounding the diamond-hearted soul. And also, the other thing is that it states at the end of the pastime, Varaha flies off back to Vaikuntha, to his planet, where there's an uninterrupted festival. And anyone who hears this pastime in the proper mood will also have the opportunity to enter into that uninterrupted festival. Imagine going to a festival that never ends. The worst part of a festival is when you start to see Madhuha take down the tents. That's true. So, up in the spiritual world, at least on Varaha's planet, it doesn't end. Anyway, is there anything else that I forgot? I don't remember all the specifics of everything, but I was just meditating on this point, because for years now, Colleen and I have been talking about it. It seems like it's obvious you're taking something out of the earth, not putting it back in. It's going to affect things. And then it must have been there in my subconscious, because the purport says, Prabhupada says in the purport, I'll read it again, just in case anyone missed it, that by doing this, it's affecting the balance of the earth. It says, the floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes, the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons, and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. Now, we're only talking about what's happening to the air quality. That's basically our main concern, and the water. And really, that one documentary that Tapa was always playing, Cow Conspiracy, and it's the amount of pollution that's created from the oil, burning the fossil fuels, is nothing compared to what is being done where they're deforesting, like say the Amazon, to make pasture lands so that they can raise cattle for meat eating. This is really the real issue. And we know from another pastime of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj, when he first incarnates, he realizes that the citizens on the planet that he's responsible for are starving. And so he approaches Bhumi, why aren't you feeding? Why aren't you providing grains? And she says, well, all the grains that I'm providing are being offered to atheists, to sinful people. So she withdraws it. Prabhupada said the same thing. Like in other ages, you could go to the shore of the ocean and pick up valuable jewels or gold. Or in the rivers, there would be pearls and emeralds and rubies. It was in the water. The earth it was there. It was coming out. She was giving. Now she's holding it back because everyone is so impious. Actually, I read a historical, back many years ago, I read a historical description of the Klondike, which was after the California gold rush. In Alaska, there was a huge gold rush. And they said you could just walk along the shore of the ocean and there was just gold coming up in the waves. The ocean was just providing gold like that. And so, Bhumi a personality. She's our mother, and she is part of. She's one of Krishna's dear servants, and so we have to be respectful to Bhumi, and we have and by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and worshiping the deities and trying to be good stewards of this land and taking care of the cows nicely, we're doing our part to help protect the earth. It's not a mundane thing, it's a spiritual thing. So, anyone like to say something? Or yes, come.
I know I'm not going to remember this correctly, but scientifically they're saying that it's hard for rain to form. I don't know how scientifically, because there's so much pollution in the air. It's hard for rain to develop.
Well, what's the thing when they say acid rain? What is that? What's acid? What is that?
When the pollution is so thick and the rain comes down and it just becomes saturated with that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. That's why, like in New York,
Yeah.
places where there's a lot of.
Well, now the real things like Delhi and China.
Yeah, Delhi's so bad.
And China and places like that.
I think Delhi has gone now to more electric rickshaws and different things like that.
How do you turn this off?
Transportation.